The Castle on the Hester Street by Linda Hiller and illustrated by Boris Kolikov. Dum 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 dum. One day, Julie was visiting her grandparents. Her grandfather said, "Did I ever tell about my good friend Mystery? You told me about Herschel, the famous astronomer." Julie said with a giggle, "The one who discovered that the moon was a math hole. And you told me about Betsy, your little cousin whose braids were so long that she used them for jump ropes. But you never told me about Mushy." Mushy, the goat, was from my village in Russia, Julie's grandfather said. He pulled the wagon I rode in when I came to America. Not only could Mushy leap across the ocean the way others jump over puddles, but he also could sing. We started singing from the moment we left Russia. 9,092 miles to go. 9,092 miles. After we pass a small patch of snow, we'll be 99. 9,091 miles to go. Dum 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 dum. Julie was about to join in when her grandmother said, "Sorry, what are you telling that child?" "True story, just the way I remember it, Rose dear," Julie's grandfather said. Mushy's wagon was solid gold. It shone like a shooting star when it flew over the ocean. "That's a story, all right, but it's not true," Julie's grandmother said. Grandpa came on a boat like I did. It was terrible. Hundreds of families were crowded together. Babies were crying. Bundles were piled over. The boat rocked so much that I thought we would drown. But in Russia, life for the Jews was very hard. We couldn't live or work where we wanted. Sometimes we were attacked just because we were Jews. We had to leave Russia any way we could." As her grandmother spoke, pictures grew in Julie's mind of her grandparents leaving their country and crossing a rough winter ocean on a boat so crowded they could hardly move. "Grandpa, is that how you really came?" Julie asked, looking sad. "Yes, it was," Julie's grandfather said. He too looked sad, but until he added, "But what a welcome I got when I arrived." Bizarre Trigger tapped to me. Came to greet me. "Hello, soul," he said. "Mighty glad you could come." "Don't listen to another word," Julie's grandmother said. "Grandpa's brother Morris met him. The boat docked at first Ellis Island. We sat for hours and waited to be inspected. Not everyone who came could stay. If you were sick, you had to go back. I was so afraid they would find something wrong with me, but thank God I passed every test." "Hooray!" Julie shouted. "Thank you, dear," Julie's grandmother said. She gave her a kiss, and "There's something to show you." Then she went on the closet. Julie's grandfather leaned closer and whispered to Julie, "Everyone who came here was given a castle. Mine was on Hester Island, Hester Street. It was so tall that piglins couldn't fly all the way off the roof. I had to carry them there." Julie's grandmother came back to the sofa carrying a box. "Did Grandpa tell you about the horrible little room you showed with Louie, the kickermarker, and the herdman, the tailor?" she asked as she sat down. "In those days, people had to take in boarders to help pay the rent. Life was hard. Grandpa had his pushcart. He sold buttons 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. Only rest he got was on Sabbath." "Poor Grandpa," Joey said, and she patted his hand. Julie's grandfather got quiet for a moment, and then he said, "What? But what's buttons?" he had. "Buttons came from carved from diamonds, emeralds, and rubies. Buttons as big as sockers. Buttons as big as plates. Buttons you could use as lead and snow." Julie's grandmother sighed loudly. Grandpa sold small buttons and small enough to fit through your buttonholes. "I'll show you," she said as he opened the box. The box was filled with photographs in a cardboard frame. In it, Julie's grandmother stood next to his pushcart, which was full with little buttons. "Grandpa was so strong," Julie said. Feeling proud, Julie's grandfather found a photograph of a young girl and showed it to Julie. "This is a picture of your grandmother," he said. She was very famous in those days. "This is a picture of your grandmother," he said. "She was very famous in those days. Everyone stole Mr. Wickham's beautiful daughter Rose, who stayed home all day nibbling chocolates. Her 5 big brothers had to watch so that nobody stole her away. I wandered 6 days a week in the factory, then Sweeting smoothed her hair. You are still very pretty," Julie's grandfather said, and he kissed her cheek. "In Russia, your grandmother's sued for royalty. He made stitches so small they couldn't be seen. People wondered how the dresses stayed together." "That part is true, Julie's grandmother said proudly. "But why do they say proudly?" "As soon as I met your grandfather, I wanted to marry her," Julie's grandfather said. "Every night I hired priceless flower. I love you every hour. And Mushy and I sang love songs under her window. Finally, her father let me marry her. A year later, your mother was born. No one ever had seen such a beautiful child. Then Easter, Ruthie, and Betty were born when they were, and they were just as beautiful. I made the tiny jewel crowns, and they rode through the streets in hand-carved golden bay carriages. Enough is enough. Enough is enough, Julie's grandmother said. From now on, I insist that Julie hear only the truth. Grandpa and I had to work even harder to feed all those babies, but we didn't mind. We had something more valuable than jewel crowns and golden baby carriages. We had each other, and we were free to live as we wanted. That's the truth, Rose dear, Julie's grandfather said. And from now on, that's all what will pass through my lips. They sat quietly for a few minutes. Then Julie's grandfather smiled and whispered to Julie, "Did I ever tell you about the time Mushy the girl sang for President Wilson?" The end of Wonders. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.